Got something cool to show you, Rach. Let's have a look at this. I've got a pack of cards.
Cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I think it's cool.
I expected it.
It is a card trick, though, so, you know, maybe we balance it. It's a deck of bicycle cards. All the magicians use bicycle cards, as I'm sure you've noticed. Yep. The reason is, and it says it on the box, it says, every time you open a fresh pack of bicycle playing cards, you are handling 135 years of expertise. They are really good cards. Okay. But one of the reasons they're really good cards is they have technology that spots misprints in decks. And that's why a lot of magicians use them, so you don't get cards that are misprinted or wonky. Oh, okay. And I can demonstrate how cool it is because I've got a pack of cards, and I've also got in this bag the technology that they use to spot the misprints. Okay. Right? We have the power. Ooh, that's the technology they use to find the misprinted cards. It seems unlikely, but I'm going to prove that it's true. Yeah. My deck of cards has 4 misprints in it, and I've labelled it as a defective deck because it's got the 4 misprints in, and we're going to see if this technology can locate them. So I want you to pick up the dice. You can examine them if you like. All of them? Yeah, go for it. And then I'm going to have you roll them, and we're going to need 4 different numbers because sometimes the technology finds the same misprints. So just give them a roll across the table, and you've ended up with, they're all different. You happy with that?
3, 5, 6, yes.
Perfect stuff. So we've got a 6, a 5, a 2, and a 3. That's great. And that is literally all we're going to do to find these misprints, because we're going to start off here. So this is a 6, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 5, so we're going to go super slowly and fairly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just 2, which is easy enough. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And that will lead us, hopefully, to our 4 misprinted cards. Let's see if it worked. So it's led us to the 8 of diamonds, which looks all right to me, but I don't know. I'm no expert. The 5 and the 5 of diamonds. The 2 has led us to the Queen of Spades. And the 3 has led us to the 3 of clubs. They don't seem to be misprinted, but I have a list of the misprints on the back of this. I just wrote it down quickly. And it says 8 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, Queen of Spades, 3 of clubs. So these definitely are the misprinted cards. So let me think about this for I remember. I know why these are misprints now. It's because it wasn't a regular deck I had. It was a blank deck. And so they are the misprints because they're the only ones that have any print on them at all.
What?
This is how Skynet started. Don't trust the technology.
Oh, no.
So let's take a look at the explanation for Michael Breger's trick Bad Bikes. Michael has a ton of different applications and tricks using the principles and presentations, but this is my favourite one. It's also the simplest one, so it's the least for me to remember. But we're going to talk you through exactly how it works. It's a really clever principle, which is a Jerry Sadowitz and Nick Trost sort of idea. But I love the presentation that Mike has put on it. And it's just really fun and social, and the blank deck is a logical kicker, which I like. Rather than just kind of going, ta-da, the rest of the deck happens to be blank. There's a reason why the deck is blank, which explains the rest of the trick, which I think is really cool. So what you've got is some sort of prediction card or notice card here. It says defective deck on there. And then on the back, room to write 4 regular cards. Obviously, you can use any 4 that you like, or you could maybe use 4 for another trick if you're going to tie it in together. I've just written down random 4. Then inside the deck, you've got 48 blank-faced cards, which we're going to set down there, and then 4 regular cards, and obviously these match these. And I like to have it in order. I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference, but I still set them up in order. And then you need to set the trick up. So what we're going to do is deal off some blank cards. So if you pick up the blank cards, deal down 5 of those. 2, 3, 4, 5. You put the first 2 cards in position 6 and 7. And then you go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the next 2 go 13, 14. And that is the setup with the rest of the deck on there. The only other thing you need, and this is all optional by the way, you don't have to do this prediction bit, but you know, adds an extra phase, so why not? So the other thing you need is 4 dice, and I've just got a random bunch of dice here, all different colours because it looks cool. or I think it looks cool. And then I have a bag that's too big for the dice, just so that everything's self-contained then, because then you put the deck and the dice in one bag, and you know, you're not going to bring out the wrong deck by mistake or anything like that. So to perform it, you bring out the deck first. You can show this right off the bat or not, it's up to you. But just bring the cards out of the box without exposing the blank face at the bottom. So you just bring out the deck of cards, you can spread it out, whatever. You've got trigger the pack of cards, make a reference to the quality thing that's printed on here, if Bicycles still print this. And then you can turn it over and say, this is a defective deck because we've got the technology that Bicycle use to track down the misprints. And then you tip out your dice. Funny that this would be the technology they use, especially for magicians who know that actually Bicycle cards are often, you know, maybe the quality control could be done like this because they're often wonky. So you tip out your 4 dice, hand those out to your spectators to roll or what have you, as you scoop up the rest of the pack. And here is the Jerry Sadowitz stroke Nick Trost thing. I think it's Jerry's principle and Nick Trost applied it to 4-Ace production, and then Michael's changed the presentation into this, which is really cool. So what happens is you're going to roll the dice, but you need 4 different numbers showing, and it's really easy to justify here because you can say there's 4 misprints in the deck and we're trying to find them. These two 5s have found the same one, so re-roll one. That kind of makes sense. And what you're going to do is when they have rolled them so that there is 4 different numbers, is that you will find that 2 of them always add up to 7. And this is basically the old principle of opposite sides of a dice add up to 7. This is like an application of that, because out of 4 dice and 6 possibilities, 2 of them will always add up to 7. Then you need to arrange these dice in a row so that the 2 that add up to 7 are the middle 2 dice. Okay, so I'm going to go 4, and then I see the 5 and the 2. It doesn't matter what order, so we'll go 4, 5, 2, and then put the 6 down here. And that's perfect. And any other roll will work out as long as you've got 4 different numbers. Just remember the 2 numbers that add up to 7 have to be the middle 2 dice. That's the important part. And then you've got one more thing you've got to do. You're going to have to do a small displacement. You look at the first number that you're going to deal with, which in this case is 4. You subtract that number from 6, which gives you 2, and that's how many cards you displace from the top to the bottom. I tend to double undercut them, just as we're chatting, and do that. But you could do anything. You could even, you know, just while you're talking, just take a couple of cards off, put the deck on your other hand while you're talking about what's going to happen. That would be fine. In this case, I might have arranged it so that the 6 was here, and then I wouldn't have had to do any displacements, but you're not always going to have a 6. But that's worth bearing in mind. So now the principle is amazing. It basically now works itself, but you remember that you spread, count, count. Okay, and that's the whole secret. So we're going to spread off 4 cards. So we don't reverse the order of the first 4. We go, let's take 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. You take them really slowly and carefully so they know that that's exactly what you got. And then you drop that down. That's the first misprint there. Now, the next number is 5, and the 5 is on top here. So you reverse count. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and set that down next to the dice. And you now revert back. Spread, count, spread, count. So I'm going to spread off 2. 1, 2, set that down, and then count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And through the wizardry of maths, that will now work. You set the packet down, you say these are our misprints, so let's see where it's taken us, and you turn the packets over. Not turning over the top card of the packets, turn the whole packets over. So that takes us to the 8 of diamonds here, the 5 of diamonds, and the Queen of spades, and then the last one, the 3 of clubs. You can have some fun with looking for what the misprints are. I know Michael has a magnifying glass he brings out and gives to them to see if they can spot what's wrong. And then you come up here, you remove your card. This is just, you could just reveal the blanks here. That's fine. But this just gives you an extra phase because you can slide out the thing that says defective deck and say, I've actually got a list. It says the 8 of diamonds, the 5 of diamonds, the Queen of spades, and the 3 of clubs. So you definitely found them. And that's a little prediction element. People, when they backtrack it, will think, how did you know that we'd have stopped on those? And then you can say, I remember now why this was a misprint, because this wasn't a regular deck. This was a blank deck. And then you can push each packet to show the blank cards underneath the printed ones. And then you can spread the rest of the deck to show that all the rest of the deck is totally blank. And what's lovely is that then everything is totally examinable and clean, and that's a great way to end your set, because not only is everything can now be looked at and examined and checked, but also your cards have now gone blank. So what other tricks would you be able to do? It brings it to like a nice logical close. And that is the explanation for Michael Breger's Bad Bikes. So the main selling point for Bad Bikes for me is the presentation. I think the method is very clever as well, the Sadovitz Nick Tross thing. But there is another idea that you can use that will do the exact same thing with just a slightly different handling, and you might prefer it. I'm not sure if I prefer it or not, so I'll show you and then you can decide at the same time that I am. So this is another Nick Trost idea, and it's to use the Poker Player's Picnic, which is a really old self-working trick and a fabulous self-working trick, but using 4 dice for like a random element, and this is really, really cool. So the setup would be easier. You would have your blank cards here and then your 4 misprints on top of the pack. And then you would set the pack down and you would have your dice rolled. Another advantage of this is you don't need to re-roll any duplicate numbers, so they can roll whatever they've got. So we've got a 3, a 6, a 1 and a 2. That's fine. You're going to lay them out. One thing to bear in mind, I got lucky here. Well, I say lucky, I got lucky. There's a 3. If you get any 3s, put them on the far right hand side of the row. That's all you need to remember. If you don't have any 3s, then you need to do a displacement, and I'll talk you through that at the end. For now, let's imagine you've rolled these numbers and you've got a 3. Here's what's really cool now. You say, right, so those are the that's going to pick up the misprints. So you have them cut the deck into 4 piles, and the top section ends up where the 3 is. That's all you need to make sure of. The rest of this will now all work out. So you say, so this is a 2. So what the process is we move 2 cards from the top to the bottom, and then deal 1 card on top of each pile. And then you do the same with the next number. Doesn't matter what the numbers are, all of them are fine up until this one. So this is 1, so you move 1 card from the top to the bottom, and you deal 1 card on top of each pile. And then this is a 6, so you'd take this pile, you'd take 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the bottom, 1 on top of each pile. Now, of course, you come to a 3, and this is the same as the Poker Player's Picnic. Normally, you would just tell them to do 3, but here we've got these random numbers as a throw-off. You say 3 to the bottom, which is putting the 3 blanks that have been added onto this packet back, and 1 on top of each packet, which is then dealing the misprints straight out onto the top of the packets, like that. And then you talk for a moment. You need a little bit of time misdirection, but no more so than for the original trick, which was just an ace production from a printed deck. You're saying that is the procedure for locating all of the misprints. Let's see how we did. And then you turn over the top card of each one, which I probably prefer a bit as well, to show these 4. Oh, it looks pretty random. Don't see what the misprints are all about. But no, that's definitely the misprints. You've got them: 8 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, Queen of spades, 3 of clubs. Ah, wait, I remember what it is. And then you reveal your blank deck finish to end. So that is another handling of the same trick, which you might prefer. It's just what trade-offs you like. I think that the original one that Mike settled on, the Sadovitz Trost thing, is more fooling for magicians, but there's more for you to remember, because you have to remember to do the displacement, you have to remember to put the 2 that add up to 7 into the middle, and you have to remember that you're spreading some packets and counting others. If I'm performing now, it's normally socially and maybe after a beer or 3, and I find the second one way easier to just do. It's just cut 4, roll the dice, put the 3 on the right hand side, and then off we go with Poker Player's Picnic. One thing to just quickly cover is that what happens if they roll a dice and you don't get a 3, all you have to do is a small displacement. So let's say that, let's re-roll them and then we'll just lose any 3s that we get. Right, so that's perfect. So I've got 2 2s, a 1 and a 6. Move the 6 over to the right, the highest number that you've got, and then lay the rest out, doesn't matter. And then before they cut the packets, you need to displace 3 cards on top. So basically, you're just looking at that number and then adding enough cards to make 3 up to that number, if that makes sense. So I need it to be a 3, it's a 6, so I'm going to have to put 3 more cards on top of my setup. And I would do that as I spread through, get a break under the bottom 3, and then just do a double undercut to add those 3 back on as I'm talking. And they say, right. And then that's going to be set up for exactly the same thing. They'll cut. And then you go through the exact same process as I showed you before, moving the cards from the top to the bottom and then dealing 1 card on top of each pile. And then that will still all work out. So that's an alternative method for Michael Breger's Bad Bikes from Nick Trost.